You a parent and concerned that your child may be on the autism spectrum. Well, this video is for parents who are concerned about their child and wondering what some early signs may be and how to have early interventions to set your child up for the most success. Oftentimes, it can be really overwhelming, especially when your little one is growing and developing and maybe starts to miss some milestones. And it can oftentimes leave parents wondering if everything's okay or what may be wrong or what the explanation may be. And so, really, we want to talk about the proper order of development is the most important, but also speak to the concern as a new parent you may experience. My brother is on the autism spectrum and is 8 years younger than me. So when I was growing up, we were faced with similar questions on why his motor skills were delayed with crawling, ultimately, then with walking, and then further along with speech skills and social skills, etc. And wondering what may be the explanation or what's going on, and it can leave you very concerned for your child, seeking help and answers, and really ultimately what the best form of support for your child can be. 80% of neurological development happens in the first 2 years of life, and so early intervention is really key. And so, really getting to the root cause as early as possible sets your child up for the most success. Obviously, genetics, environmental factors, and then also um, trauma, etc., can play an impact and role into ultimately what leads to the symptoms that your child's experiencing. And obviously, it's a bigger picture and no perfect explanation as to what may contribute or cause these delays or ultimately ending with a autism spectrum diagnosis, but some early signs in development that we can notice and how ultimately as pediatric neurologically focused chiropractors we would be able to help. So we want to talk about what's called the perfect storm. The perfect storm is the accumulation of stressors. So, when we talk about babies or kids being stressed, people are oftentimes like, how can my child be stressed? How can my infant be stressed? And oftentimes that's because we associate the word stress with our common mental and emotional understanding of what it means to be, quote, stressed out. But we really have three forms of stress. We have physical stress, which can be slips, falls, accidents. In infants' case, it's obviously the birthing process, which is the largest form of physical trauma that their body has seen thus far. Not necessarily bad, but physical trauma. And that's similar to in adults when we talk about exercise. It's physical trauma to the body, and it's a positive one ultimately. But ultimately, the goal of exercise is to break down the muscle fibers so we can build them back stronger. So, physical trauma, physical stress is the first form of stress. The second form of stress is mental and emotional. In infants, that's directly related to maternal mental and emotional stress. While baby is in utero, we know that cortisol from mom actually crosses the placenta. And so that maternal stress has a direct impact on baby stress. And so maternal stress, how smooth or how quick or how many interventions there maybe was at birth, how many interventions there were potentially during pregnancy. Was it a high-risk pregnancy? What other complicating factors may have been going on that may have been contributing to stress in utero on baby? And then thirdly, environmental factors. And environmental factors are anything our body is exposed to that our body is designed to filter. And that's why we have a liver, we have kidneys, we have skin for a barrier, we have lungs for what we're breathing in. But ultimately, the environmental factors add up and contribute to what's called your toxic load over time. And so we have three forms of stress, and we're saying how much or how early, and how often has baby been exposed to these stressors and in what quantity? And this culminates into what's called the perfect storm. When we're seeing high amounts of stress in these three buckets, this is the perfect storm that then we start to notice constipation, potentially colic, later on some more sensory issues or ADHD, activity levels, difficulty paying attention, etc. And this risk kind of it yields into with the perfect storm, just leads into these other symptoms we start to see as children try to progress through different milestones and their body hits these different neurological development points. And so this culminates into the perfect storm. Now, how is the perfect storm related to potentially autism spectrum? Well, the perfect storm goes and says, the more of these factors that accumulate, and the earlier they are, more often they're exposed to it, it's going to shift the nervous system, which is the main control system of the whole body. It's going to shift the nervous system into a stress state or a sympathetic dominant state. And when it does that, it's very hard. There's a quote by Bruce Lipton's, the body can't be in growth and development and survival at the same time. And so if we're stuck on sympathetic, if we're stuck on survival, if we're stuck on fight or flight, we're not accessing the parasympathetic, which is resting, digesting, regulating, restoring, repairing, and healing. And that's where growth and development happens. The body has to be able to feel safe and to be able to rest and digest for healing and growth and development to truly happen. Going back to the exercise example, we break our muscles down in exercise, but it's in rest that our muscles are actually repairing themselves and growing back stronger. And so it's the physical stress is necessary. So stress is not inherently bad. It's when it's unequally matched or imbalanced with the rest. And so when our bodies are stuck in this sympathetic dominant state and we're not adequately accessing this parasympathetic, it's harder for us to really reach those motor milestones or neurological motor milestones because our bodies are stuck on survival. And so from a pediatric chiropractic perspective, we want to make sure the nervous system is balanced. We want to balance this gas pedal, sympathetic, fight or flight, and brake pedal, rest and digest. And if the body is in balance, when we add things like OT, speech, diet modifications, supplements, sensory, music therapy, etc., the body is in a better position to receive those things and truly to learn and to grow from that. It's why we commonly partner with pediatric physical therapists, pediatric speech therapists, because we know if we set the body up for success, when it goes into these things, the body is prepped and ready to be able to learn and to be able to access these new skills that we're learning in therapy. So that's the perfect storm and essentially how the nervous system can become dysregulated. Oftentimes, like I was talking about, 80% of that neurological development happens in the first 2 years. And so the first 2 years can be a key sign of some symptoms or triggers on potentially signaling autism. So essentially, some of the key signs that we see are we have, really early on, as early as 3 months, you can notice things like eye contact, grasping for objects, bringing hands to their mouth. Those are things if they're not reaching these milestones. And then a little bit later on, some red flags about 7 months could be not turning towards sound, laughing, or engaging. About 9 months, we can see not responding to names, copying gestures, or looking where others are going. And it's really those key indicators that there might be something else deeper going on. And then more pronounced symptoms from 12 months to 24 months can be no speech, gesture, standing, or severity and sensory sensitivity. That can be some indicators for us to look deeper. And ultimately, early intervention, like we've said, is best. So if you're noticing as early as 3 months, you're noticing some of these signs, getting your child into a pediatric chiropractor, balancing out their nervous system, and just giving their body optimal chance for success. It's just really ultimately We're not going to necessarily cure autism, and we're not looking to do that. We're we're not even trying to treat autism. We're just saying that given what else is going on, how do we give kiddos the best chance for success? And that's by giving them the proper tools they need so that when they go into different therapies, like we were talking about, like physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, etc., they're prepped for success, and we're really ultimately here to bring out the most potential in your child. Not to cure your child or even to treat your child, but to bring out your child's potential with the potential that they have, their God given potential. We want them to help reach that, whatever that may be for them, and really ultimately coming alongside and supporting them from a holistic health perspective. And so, what can you do? You can discover how, if your child is experiencing some developmental delays or potentially some sensory issues, you can get your child into our office. You can get them scanned. We have neurological scans, and we can talk about how balancing their nervous system can help your child reach their potential. So, check us out at sunlife.com. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment below.